how you do something is just as important as what you do. Charity should be done with dignity and empowerment. Did we create a scenario where we were the hero rather than creating a scenario where they could be the hero to their own family? It's about the hope that represents. Clean laundry is a dignifier.
Hey everyone, Dave Menz coming to you again from Cincinnati, Ohio for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. I'm here with a new friend of mine that I met recently at a networking event, and I'm excited to tell this story today. So buckle in, because this is going to be a little bit different version of our usual show, but I know it's something that you're going to want to hear about, learn about. We're excited to see if we can move the needle a little bit. And our guest today is doing some fantastic stuff around the world, and we're just hoping to be a little bit a part of that and give him a little bit of the shot in the arm. But anyway, I'm here today with my beautiful wife, Carla, and a really, really sharp guest who's really impacting communities. And we're excited to tell the story. So let's get into it. Carla, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes. So today we have with us Jason Sowell. He is the founder of Current Initiatives, a nonprofit organization focusing on meeting the needs of the lower income families in underserved communities. So Jason, thanks so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I have to ask, I know you say the name of your organization is Current Initiatives, and my understanding is a lot of what we're going to talk about today is what you call the laundry project. Can you just real quickly, I want to dive into this because I know you're doing all kinds of good stuff here when we talked offline. And can you just dive into like who were you as an individual growing up, a young kid, and how did you get involved in something like this?
Yeah, so I grew up in Florida. I live in Florida, and my parents were both first responders. A few minutes ago, we were talking about hurricanes and stuff like that. I grew up in a kind of in a space where, you know, both my parents, anytime there was emergencies, anytime there were things, you know, they both served the community in different ways. And I kind of always knew as a kid, just always had a, you know, think about what I was going to do when I grow up and stuff. It started out as, oh, I want to be a cop like my dad or whatever. Dad talked us all out of that. He wanted to go into the family business. You know, eventually I settled on going to seminary and wanted to go that route. So I went to seminary, was a pastor for a while, and did a lot of missions work when I did that. But I was kind of frustrated with how in my world and in the church world that I was in, how we did missions work. It was, you know, we're going to another country, which is needful, you know, we're going to these other countries. But what I started realizing or struggling with is we're passing neighborhoods in my own city, going to the airport to fly to another country to help people and not doing anything for those neighborhoods, you know, 10 minutes down the road. You know, there's various reasons for that. One of them, probably the most unconscious prominent one, is that it's not as sexy, if you will, to take photos in, you know, your neighborhood in your own city as it is to take photos in a third world country and all of that. And so that was a little frustrating to me. My other frustration was that when we would do those things, most of the time, again, a needful thing, you know, we would go, you know, we're doing vacation Bible schools or different things like that in these villages or whatever, and then leaving. And my frustration was that it's great that we did that, but they're also potentially going to die from something that I can buy from Walgreens, you know, the over the counter that can cure whatever the thing is that they're struggling with, but we're not doing anything for that. So when I left the church I was working at, I was kind of really figuring out what I wanted to do next. And I kind of designed in my own head, if I could do anything specifically, how would I want to do it? And so I wanted to really focus on neighborhoods right here in our own cities and work on some tangible needs that people just don't think about, which turned into the first thing being the laundry project that we kind of stumbled into. And I kind of learned the need from some friends out in Southern California. They were working with some homeless people, and I was on vacation out there and hung out with them for a little bit. They took one of the guys they work with to a laundromat and washed his clothes because he hadn't washed his clothes in a while. And it wasn't the guy that got me. It was while I was in that laundromat, listening to, and then eventually talking to some families that were there washing clothes, and just, listening to a single mom tell her story about making a choice between buying groceries that week or washing their clothes that week for her kids. And, that I'd never heard that before, being a need for people. And it, broke my heart. And I started doing some research on it. And that's kind of what, I fell backwards into the laundry industry that way.
Fell backwards. Yeah. Those of us that are, I know when we first got into the industry, we obviously didn't understand the need. I think we just saw it as another business, and we learned very quickly that what I now call laundromats, I say one of the unique things about that business model from a business perspective, it's that a vital community resource. And and I don't take those words lightly. I mean every single word of that. And I don't think another people understand the opportunity, maybe, I guess is the best way I'll put it. I mean, me and Carla were members of the church ourselves, and so we've been raised to serve others, and it's a part of it's a part of who we are, and so it's just intertwined in our business minds, if you will. But I know that's not the case for everybody. But I also am very well aware there's a lot of people out there that are not members of the church that are doing an awful lot of good stuff too. And so that's a big part of kind of having you on, is letting people know, when you own a laundromat, a vital community resource, there's many different ways that we as laundromat owners can impact the community. Supporting an initiative and a project like yours is one of those. Can you walk us through kind of I don't know if business model is the right way to put it, but the nonprofit model? I don't know what I'm talking about. Your model of how you maybe walk us through how you did the first one. I'm guessing it was probably pretty simple. I know you have a little bit more elaborate setup nowadays, and how you grew through that process, just so we can kind of understand it a little more.
Sure. Yeah. So 13 years ago is when I started it. And I live in Tampa, Florida, and that's where we started it. When I came back from that trip from California, I wanted to figure out how to do that. And so one of the neighborhoods that when I worked at the church I was at, that we would do some stuff in occasionally, was lower income neighborhood here in Tampa. And I knew of a laundromat there and had some contacts there, and just got a group of people together, raised a little bit of money, and went to this laundromat. Had zero plan, zero, we didn't have any signage. We didn't have anything kind of identifying us as something legitimate, And on top of that, I tried to find the owner of the laundromat, and try to get their information. So just to ask permission, which is a little backwards for me. Usually I go for the forgiveness part and permission later. But I was like, well, let's try the permissions route first. And we could not. One of the guys on my board is a security specialist, does private investigation as well. He couldn't even find the owner's information.
Isn't that crazy?
Which I'll tell you why in a minute. But so I just went, well, let's just go show up and do it and start doing it. If the owner shows up and doesn't want us there, they'll tell us to leave, or, whatever. And so we did, just showed up and with a group of people. And it really just, I came in with like a box of quarters and a group of people, and just started trying to pay for people's laundry. And, it was a little disjointed to begin with, but figured out some processes as we went, and started doing that for every couple months for the first year. And eventually the newspaper here wrote a story about it, and the owner of this laundromat, the day the story comes out, he, I guess, was sitting at his table reading the newspaper, and his story is that he tells his wife, looks up at his wife, he says, "Hey, our laundromat's in the news today." And his wife's response was, "Did somebody die at our laundromat?" Is there a murder? And he goes, no, it's actually for something good. And so he contacted the reporter to get my information, contacted me. He loved it, and now is actually on our board.
Oh, wow.
It turns out the reason we couldn't find his information is at the time he was the head of the Department of Children and Family Services for the state of Florida. So his information was private. So, we couldn't find any owner info that way, but he's become one of our biggest advocates ever since then. And it just kind of went from there. To start with, it was just, we'll figure it out as we go. Now there's a whole plan to it. When we come in, we've got a whole system that people go through when they come in to wash their clothes, and how we help them and how we do our process. And, we actually have signs and things like that and usually permission from the owner at this point. So.
Are you renovating your store or building a new one? Tired of persistent and expensive plumbing issues like I was? Get an HM Company drain trough to give those drain lines a fighting chance against the constant wear and tear of laundromat life. Sizing is fully customizable to meet your needs, and lead times are a maximum of 2 weeks. I've used them in my stores in Cincinnati for years, and I'm installing them in my new store, which is opening soon. Visit their website today at draintroughs.com and contact your distributor to order your drain trough today. What does that look like? I'm curious, kind of and the reason I want to bring this up is, one, I want people to understand the work that goes into these projects that you put on that they could be supporting. But I assume this is okay with you. I'm just going to take the liberty of saying it. I'm guessing that you would more than welcome laundromat owners to take on something like this as their own. Like if we just decided we want to do some version of this ourselves, I mean, you obviously can't be in every community and every laundromat, maybe someday. Right. And so maybe I guess I kind of hope there's a little bit of like laundromat owners like ourselves out there that are like, hey, this is a good idea. And I could maybe not do it quite as well as Jason's organization, but I could do my own version of it where you can't be in all these places at once. So I think there's something for us laundromat owners to learn in the 13 years of you doing that, if that's okay.
So is it kind of similar to, like, I know some laundromats do like a free laundry day. Is that similar to what you all do?
Yeah. So the way, essentially, the way it works for us is so partnerships are a big deal for us. Partnerships are essential. One of the things that we express too with doing these is that we want them to be supported by their own communities. So I live in Tampa, and originally I had no plans of doing it anywhere else. It was just, I want to do it here in my own city, help my communities. It just kind of grew out of that to, 13 years later, we're in 15 different states across the country, like 52 cities, I think, that we do these in. And it kind of went from that to, like, people moving to other cities that were here, that were a part of it, or, someone in another city seeing a news article or a news story about what we do and contacting us, and it going from there. And for us, it's we need a group of people in that particular city, funded by people in that city, not funded by donors in Tampa, funding Cincinnati or wherever. For us, when we do it, we typically have a team lead there that runs as volunteers, and essentially we take over the laundromat for a few hours. At some point, we got connected with CLA years ago and started kind of coaching through CLA how laundromats could do this on their own if they wanted to. What we ran into is a lot of laundromats we work with, they're not typically in a financial position that they could go, oh, I can spend $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it is. So for us coming in, we don't ever ask the owner to do it for free or to lower their prices. When I come to an owner and say, hey, can we host this thing at your laundromat? I come in with, we're going to pay for it because I don't want you to lose money as an owner. Because in those neighborhoods, especially if that business is hurt and goes away, that's not good for anyone. It makes things worse in that neighborhood. So for us, it's a twofold thing. We're helping people that are financially struggling, but we also want to make sure that you make your money as a business as well. Obviously, there are laundromats and laundromat owners that they are in a financial position that they can do that kind of thing. And we always encourage owners that if they can host a free laundry day, and it doesn't have to be all day. Sometimes owners are like, well, I don't have, I can't do an all day thing. When we do our projects, we do it in a 3-hour or 4-hour block at a laundromat. So typically we come in and go, hey, we want to take over your laundromat from like 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on a Saturday. And, we're just going to run our program. People do their own laundry. We don't disrupt it in the sense that like we're doing laundry for people. Customers do their own laundry. I'm not going to touch your laundry other than helping you bring it inside if I need to, maybe helping you move it from your washer to your dryer. And maybe the volunteers are helping you fold at some point if you want it.
I'm assuming when you market these ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
I assume. So I would guess there's a pretty good influx of people. Is that just to keep that throughput moving along?
Yes. Yeah. So there's a couple reasons. One of the reasons for us too is that part of our philosophy of charity is that charity should be done with dignity and empowerment. A lot of times organizations, when they identify a need that people have, and they go, oh, I'm going to figure out a way to meet that need, and they start doing it. A lot of times organizations and people don't take the extra step to go, is how we're doing this dignifying for the people that we're helping? One of our philosophies is how you do something is just as important as what you do. So for us, there's a little bit of a dignity piece there of like, I'm not here to put you to the side and I'm going to take your stuff and I'm going to do it for you because I know better how to do it. For example, I gave up years ago trying to tell people you don't need that much soap or you don't, whatever. Because
so did we.
Yeah. So yeah, because as soon as, they would listen to us and then as soon as we walk away, they would like sneakily, pour even more of it in there. And so there's a dignity piece in there of like, this is your laundry. You can do it. Also, you're dealing with people's, underwear and stuff like that. Some people are embarrassed about that, whatever. We want you to do that. There's also a piece of responsibility on top of that, of charity, not creating a dependency. So we don't want to take the piece of, we're here to do everything for you. So give us your laundry. We're going to do it all for you. You sit down and take a nap, and then we're going to bring it back to you. It's a responsibility of, no, this is your laundry, to the point that we even tell them, we're not moving this to the dryer for you. If you're not here when your washer is done, we're going to take it out of the machine. We're going to put it in a basket and we're going to put your name on it. And it's going to sit in the corner until you come back, because we're not here to do your laundry for you. We're here to take care of the financial side and the supplies and things like that.
Did you approach it that way from the beginning, or did you learn, oh, maybe we're creating maybe a little bit of a monster here on your first few projects? Or
yeah, so we did it those particular pieces we did from the beginning. Okay. The piece that I learned we're kind of creating a monster is when we first started, we did it every month on essentially the same Saturday. So let's say first Saturday of the month at the same laundromat for a while. And I learned pretty quickly we were creating a dependency on that, where customers started going, and I didn't hear them say this, but we could tell, and there were other conversations we're having, that we picked up on what a lot of people started doing was, well, they're going to be at the laundromat the first Saturday of the month, so I'm not going to do anything throughout the month. I'm just going to go, spend money on other things, whatever, because I know I can show up next Saturday and I can bring every bit of laundry I have, and they'll do it, kind of thing. And so we learned doing it every month at the same place is not healthy. And two, it's not great for the laundromat either, just in a sense of what that creates within the environment there. The expectation that people have of like, well, every month you do this for free. And then if we're not there, and then they go to the owner and hassle the owner or whoever's working.
So you had some experiences where people kind of became entitled almost. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Yeah, 100%.
Had you, and I don't know if this is relevant, had you experienced similar things in like your mission work where did you kind of go into this project maybe a little bit sensitive and aware because you had done so much of similar work through the church, or was it just kind of you learned on the fly with this project?
It's a little bit of both. So when I started seeing these things, what I learned is I retroactively learned in some of these mission trips and things that we did, recognizing, oh, we were doing some of this backwards back then and didn't even realize it. I came into starting this. I had read a book that someone had given me when I started my organization, a book called When Helping Hurts. And it helped me understand the mentality of, you can, by doing good things, if you don't do them properly, you can hurt more than you can help, because you're creating dependency and entitlement, all the trickle down things of that. Also, the idea of not wanting to be the white savior complex, which is what I saw a lot in that missions in church world, was typically you're bringing predominantly, white kids, teenagers, whatever, to a predominantly Black or Hispanic country, and it kind of creates that white savior complex a little bit, rather than focusing on, for example, what I retroactively learned was when we built that school building for them, probably a better way to have done that, rather than let's spend all this money to bring people from the US to this country and build this building for them. Let's raise money. Let's hire people within that community that are skilled laborers, or teach them that skilled labor, and use that money to teach them, for them to build the building themselves, so that creates an ongoing ability for them to, oh, I've got the skill now, I can now get a job or do whatever, doing these other things. So it helped me retroactively realize, oh, if we don't think this through properly, we're going to create more entitlement and more empowerment.
It's that old don't give them fish, teach them to fish kind of analogy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. And so, for example, another project that we do that's, if I can use this real quick, is called Affordable Christmas. And we do once a year, and we host it so if you think about Christmas as one of those times that people are always get very generous, and they're giving away clothes, or they're giving away things. So there's a couple things for us that when we do this Affordable Christmas event, one of the key things for us is that everything's new, brand new, unused Christmas items. We look at things like, if it's not good enough for my family, then it's not good enough for the families that we're helping. If I wouldn't do it this way for my own kids, I shouldn't do it this way for someone else's kids. So that's why things like, oh, I'm getting rid of clothes, and so I'm going to go give them to a family or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with giving clothes away, but what it does create is the idea that this is throwaway stuff for me, so they should just be happy with what they have, rather than what's the best that we can do for people. And so with our Affordable Christmas, for example, instead of like, hey, you're poor, you can't afford Christmas for your kids, what do your kids want for Christmas? Great, let's go get that. We're going to bring that to you. In my church world experience, when we would do that kind of stuff, a lot of times it was we'll bring them to the church, and we'll surprise them in front of everybody with this, like, oh, we're going to order pizza, and the delivery person gets here, and then we're going to tip them $1,000 and surprise them in front of everyone, and all that kind of ideology. And there's all of that is in good heart, but what it does is, one, it's embarrassing for the person that's being helped. I remember doing that at our church years ago. And I remember I was a youth pastor. And so the kids, we learned it through the teenagers, did this Christmas thing. And I remember looking back, watching this dad during that be so embarrassed by the whole scenario, and realizing, man, we really sent a message to his kids about him, about her, the mom, that kind of stuff. And so what we do is, like, they come and shop, and it's new, unused items, but we let them shop and pick out what they want for their kids, what they know that their kids are going to want for Christmas, and they pay for it, but it's about 1/10 of the retail cost. So for them, what we want to do is just make it affordable, so that parent can go home and look at their kid and go, I got this for you. It wasn't some random stranger that showed up at our house and brought us, dropped off stuff at the house. And the terminology that a single dad used one time as he was talking about it was, this bicycle for his kid. And the one thing his kid asked for Christmas was a bicycle. And he said, he told his son, I can't afford that this year, so don't get your hopes up. He gets invited to this event, gets to buy a bicycle for $10, a brand new bicycle he bought for $10 for his son. And his words were, now I get to go home and be the hero to my son.
Mm-hmm.
And that terminology is what taught me, oh man, how many times in my church world mission trip experience did we create a scenario where we were the hero to them and their families, rather than creating a scenario where they could be the hero to their own family. And so that kind of is our filter through everything, even with a laundry project. Even though we're paying it for it and it's free to them, we try to create in ways for them to be able to go, I did this for myself. I got a little bit of a hand up, but I was able to do this for myself and for my family.
That is awesome. Do you do any complimentary, like other things at the laundry project? Like I know I've seen some people when they do a free laundry day, they'll also be like giving away school supplies, or, do you have any complimentary services that you do on those days?
Yeah, as much as we can. Yeah, there's layers that we try to do. One is any kind of medical or insurance type of organization. So we have companies like like United Healthcare, for example. They'll come and set up at a laundry project where people can get accessibility to. We can help you get medical care, insurance, or Medicaid, whatever. If you don't know what you're available, what is accessible to you, that's what we're here to do. Sometimes we'll have blood donor mobiles there, and that's another layer of us going, hey, you're getting this help now, pass that on. Go donate blood while your laundry's being washed. Early childhood education groups. A lot of times churches as well. One of the biggest volunteer groups are churches that we work with, and that for us is also a level of these people can help you in other ways. I look at it as, I can't solve all your problems for you. I can do this one thing, can help you in this one way. Hopefully we can bring some other people into the laundromat that can help you in other ways as well. And as as well as I do, laundromats are like community hubs for people. Everyone knows each other there. They're, it's funny too, during projects, a lot of times they'll self-police each other. My dad being a retired cop, the first time he came to a project, we had this box of quarters that was sitting on the table, and he came up to me at one point. He's like, I hope you're not leaving that box of quarters just sitting out by itself. And we don't, but I was like, honestly, Dad, I wouldn't have any problem doing it, because I guarantee you the moment that someone tries to take a roll of quarters, there are about 50 moms in here right now that will jump all over that person for that, because they look at it as like, don't bite the hand.
Well, we've experienced that. I don't know if you know a lot about our story, but when we bought our first laundromat 12 years ago, it was a complete dump and we didn't have any money, and it was a mess. A lot of sweat equity, borrowed and leveraged a lot of money to fix it up and made it nice. Kept my full-time job, rolled that into number 2, did the same thing again. And it took us 6 or 7 years to really make even any money, to be honest with you, which we were fine with, because we were building a business and changing communities. And one of the things we learned along the way is, as we reinvested in those businesses and people saw me in there at midnight in my work clothes from the day, like I didn't have to say anything. It was obvious what was happening to these people. They became fiercely defensive of us and what we were doing. And at back then, now we're fully attended, so we always have staff there. But back then we didn't. We were unattended most of the time, and we would hear stories and we would see things on video of like somebody going to write on the wall or kicking a door, and another customer comes up and gives them the what for. And I think that's powerful stuff. And I think that we need to realize that. You talked about being the savior. We're doing good stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting some fulfillment out of that, but understand you're not doing this alone, no matter what. and to
Right.
see that the community buys in and gets involved, that's when these things really snowball, if you will. And I'm guessing that's what you're referring to. But
Yeah.
that's powerful stuff. I think if I, as you're told this affordable Christmas story, I think I remember, I think it was you and I that just exchanged a few comments on a Facebook or LinkedIn post that you made about your affordable Christmas, because our church does the same thing here in
Oh
Cincinnati.
yeah, that's right.
There's
Yeah.
and as soon as you did it, that was our experience as a congregation, was that are we serving us and our like need to feel warm and fuzzy inside about how much good we did for others. I think there should be a lot of self-reflection. Charity is a good thing. It's important. It's powerful. But as I've become more mature, not that I'm mature, as I become a little more mature, I think it's important that me and Carla always try to reflect on, why are we doing this?
Do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, if we're doing it for us, then we maybe need to check ourselves. And as you become or are more successful than others, because everything's relative in life, I think it's important to do those things. But I think it's important that the messages you're teaching yourself and your own heart, and then you talked about the kids, like our kids, for example, if we're taking them, what exactly is the message that we're showing them, maybe even completely unintentionally. I guess what I'm getting at is there's a lot more here than just like going in, paying for someone's laundry and leaving. Like there's a lot of lessons. And we say all the time in the show, a part of the reason we do the show is because I learned so much about laundromat ownership and business ownership that has made us successful from friends and mentors and coaches that aren't in the laundromat industry.
Mhm.
And so one of the things we always say is business entrepreneurship, the lessons that make you successful in business are transferable. About 80 to 90%, we estimate, those things are transferable from industry to industry. And so I think that applies in this situation with, charity and nonprofit type of work. Is you can look at the lessons that, and I'm guessing you can look at the lessons you learned from the laundry project and say, how can we do this affordable Christmas better? Or maybe vice versa. And then you come on a show like this with, a few thousand people watching, and you say, okay, let's share how we do what we do, because we can't be in every city. And laundromat owners, guys that are friends of mine out there and gals, will give you an opportunity to plug in with Jason at the end of the show and make donations and all those things. And I hope and pray that you will do those things. But the reality is, like, don't just look at this, don't listen to this show through just that lens. Look at it through the lens of, what can I do? And if it's a lot, do a lot. If it's a little, do a little. But all those things, be really intentional. Like, listen to, this is someone that's done this for basically your whole life. If we go back to your church days, right? And there's a lot of lessons of how to do it right and how to do it wrong. We want to take the pride in the fact that we're serving others. Let's make sure we're serving them to the best of our abilities, not 20% them and 50% me.
Right.
And that's just my opinion. I know that's a little bold, but
No.
that's kind of who I am anyway. So
I agree with you, which is, that's why we talk about, like, is this how I would do it for my own family?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then it's not how we should do it for another family. And you're right there for us. And even with Affordable Christmas, with this, anytime I talk to volunteers or new people, I always try to context for them. When it comes to Christmas, it's just toys, right? These toys will be broken probably within a year, or it's just laundry. These clothes that they are washing 2 years from now, they may not even own anymore because they're thrown out, they're old, whatever it is. But it's not about that. It's not about that physical thing that they're putting in their hands or giving to their kids. It's about what that thing represents. It's about the hope that represents. Clean laundry is a dignifier. It's a thing that everyone needs. It brings dignity. And we talk about what our mantra is. We want to be hope dealers. And our business, what we say, our business with the laundry project is to deal soap and hope. That's what we're here to do in this laundromat. And that clean laundry, it represents hope for some people. For a lot, some of these families. I mean, if I could tell you that some of the stories that I've heard of people of just I couldn't afford to have a birthday party for my kid, and now that I saved $40 on washing, like $40 to a lot of people is just, it's $40, throw it away on a lunch, but for some people, that $40 that they're spending on laundry is the difference between washing clothes or having a birthday party for my child.
Mhm.
And that intrinsic value is what we're really here for. We want to turn this laundromat into a community center of hope for these few hours. And we want people to know that, and for me, because I am a believer, for me, it's I want you to know that God cares about something as simple as you having clean laundry,
Mhm.
because God cares about every bit of your life. And that's what we're here to represent. And so for us, it's another reason why I don't believe in one and done type scenarios. I don't believe in, yeah, we'll come do a free laundry day at your laundromat and never be here again. Our thing is, if we're going to do it with you, we're going to do this. We want a commitment with you as the owner that we're going to do this over time, multiple times throughout the year, or, throughout the next couple of years, because, the one and done kind of thing is us 9 times out of 10 patting ourselves on the back, right? It's we took our photos, like, look what we did, great, and then we move on with our life, and that's that.
It's one thing to do the work you're doing. It's another thing to do it the way you're doing it. So good for you. I think the world needs more of both, quite frankly. And I think this is how we inspire each other to do it, and obviously support your work as well. I have a quick question for you, and this is a little bit selfish, but I'm sure other people will get something out of it. You talked about, I forget your exact terminology, but you talked about like, I don't know if you use this word, but bringing in a mammogram mobile clinic, or I think blood donation is one you used, or something like that, in conjunction with the fact that you're driving traffic, a lot of traffic at once, to a community hub, as you mentioned. How, if a laundromat owner wanted to do stuff like that and they just honestly didn't even know how, like what's like a really quick, like maybe 60-second tips you can give them on who they would even reach out to and what organizations, and how could they, because I'm sure if we can get to the right person, they're going to probably jump all over it. But as business owners, a lot of times we just know laundry or business, and we're not even sure who to connect with and how. Any tips there?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the one hand, when it comes to like blood donation, for example, they're always looking for places to do them. Every community has different ones. Like here we have, it's like they call it the red bus or something like that. And it's literally like a red bus that they bring.
Yeah, I think we have Hawksworth.
We have Hawksworth,
I don't know if
and
that's a
I
national
think
thing or
Red
not.
Cross or something.
Yeah. So that one is as simple as, just Googling who's in charge of blood donor mobiles and just calling them and scheduling a day. The other thing that we do that I think is great is contact the local health department. I would love for the health department to, a lot of communities have a mobile HIV testing, medical testing. A lot of them have mobile units like that, and they're always looking for places that will let them set up where there's typically high traffic. So contacting health department and going, hey, my laundromat is busy for 5 hours on Saturday during these times. I'd love for them to be here and give out information, give people access to testing if they want, that kind of stuff. United Healthcare is a great place. They're all over the country. They'll come. And the nice thing about like a United Healthcare or somebody like that is they can't go after people. Like they're not salesy because by law, they have to have people approach them. So they can set up a table. Yeah. So, as long as they have permission to like set up a table at the laundromat, either outside by the door or inside, whatever, and they'll just have their stuff set up. They're not going to be like trying to grab people coming in and like, hey, come check out my booth and all that kind of stuff. They're just there and they'll say hi to people, but they can't really do anything unless someone goes, hey, what are you doing over here? And then they can engage in the conversation that way. But it's having that available for people to see. And then also I would say, contact CLA and ask them about the early childhood education things that CLA is working on within laundromats. I know there's various levels of that, but some of those are pretty simple because a lot of cities, especially metro cities, have some local version of a early childhood education organization, and they would love to come hang out at your laundromat for a few hours and give away books and help kids and parents with reading resources and things like that. So those are three, I would say, call, check out, Red Cross, whoever that does blood donor in your city, health department. They all have all kinds of resources to get in people's hands, and CLA as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had Brian Wallace on our podcast, and he was talking about, we just had him. He was talking about laundry cares and how even some businesses are starting to want to put in reading centers in laundromats. They're actually looking for laundromats to put them in where they even
like
will
bigger,
pay for them.
Bigger corporations are buying the Read, Play, Learn Center kits, donating them to the CLA and saying, can you help us find a Dave Menz and Carla Menz laundromat owner that we'll pay for it if they'll let us put it in, type of thing. Is kind of that community involvement. So I think what it boils down to is this we appreciate you taking the time to come on here, because I know I've gained all kinds of ideas. I'm probably going to drive Carla crazy now because you give me a new idea and I usually don't let it go. Is there anything else we haven't covered today that you feel like would be valuable to our audience? Because you're the expert here, and I want our audience to get as much out of this as possible. And thank you for taking the time to explain to us what you do, but how you do it, because hopefully we can maybe teach a few people how to fish.
Yeah. Absolutely. The only thing I would say is, like we were talking about earlier, some of those philosophies, I agree with you. They are philosophies that transfer to any kind of business. One of the things that when I first started doing this, I learned way more about laundry than I ever cared to learn. I learned way more about laundromats than I ever cared to know. I never, the most time I spent in a laundromat before doing this was in college, dropping off my laundry at a wash, dry, fold place to do my laundry. That's the most amount of time I spent in a laundromat. But when I started doing this, I learned very quickly, I can tell what kind of owner they are within the first 10 seconds of walking into a laundromat. I can tell by whether it's clean, how bright it is, if a lot of machines are broken, not broken, that kind of stuff. I can tell very quickly. And it's impossible to always have every machine working at all times. But there's a distinct difference between that and there are 10 machines that just have tape over them or whatever, and nothing's working. And what you do with that laundromat says a lot to that community about how you view them living in that community. I learned a lot of that from that first owner that we couldn't find the information for, because he was very much like you, Dave, that we would do these projects on a Saturday, and this guy would show up, like I said, he was at the time, currently he's the statewide prosecutor for the state of Florida. So he works like directly for the governor and the attorney general. This guy on a Saturday, we'd be there doing projects, and this guy shows up in his shorts and ratty t-shirt. He's crawling around behind machines, fixing stuff. And if I didn't tell you what he did for a living, you would never guess it, because he was just there cleaning. And he would go over to the drink machine. He would just unlock the drink machine and let people, take sodas out of the drink machine while the project's going on, stuff like that. And everyone knew who he was. And they knew, even though, his laundromats are open air laundromats, so they are a little harder to keep clean all the time. But they all knew who he was. They knew him by name. They knew, oh yeah, he's always here working on stuff. And that says a lot to the people in that community, that this person cares about their business. And I've seen people go across town to go to those people's laundromats rather than the one that's right around the corner from them, because they can tell that this person cares about their safety, the cleanliness of the place, all of those kinds of things. So in my opinion, those things matter from a business standpoint. And then I'll just throw this in there real quick too, something on top of what we do. A few years ago, we started working with mural artists to help beautify the buildings of those laundromats. I mean, a lot of laundromats are very industrial. They're not the most, they're not the funnest place to hang out.
Mm.
And we started working with mural artists on buildings that the laundromat owner had, either owns the building or has permission to do that kind of stuff. And so partnered up with a laundry project, we would have these professional mural artists do, we call it the clean campaign, and do a clean mural on the laundromat itself. And part of that was, one, to help beautify the neighborhood, help beautify the building itself, but it also brings some dignity and pride into the neighborhood. A lot of cities that have mural festivals and all that kind of stuff, they're typically done in the city center where there's money, because the philosophy a lot of times is, people that are low income, they don't appreciate those kinds of things. They'll just tear it up or whatever. And our goal was, no, you don't understand people in those communities, so we want to help you change your perspective, because they will appreciate art like this, because they feel overlooked by their own city, because no one's coming to their neighborhood and doing these kinds of things and helping raise up artists from those neighborhoods. And so we started doing a series of these murals at laundromats, and little things like that, and just thinking about the color that I've painted my laundromat inside and outside, and the things that are in there, what that says to your community drives a lot of people coming to your laundromat as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about inside the laundromat, because that's something that I think we've only recently begun to understand, is those little touches, they make a difference. I mean, they make a difference in your business and your value proposition too, what you can charge, things like that. But they do genuinely make a difference in people's moods and behaviors. Colors psychologically affect people, and maybe you don't need that boost, but I promise you there's people that do, and they may not even know they're receiving it, but it's still happening, right? And I think those things really make they make a big impact, more so than we can really ever quantify. We're building a new laundromat right now, which is kind of like Dave's little pride and joy, 12 years of like knowledge all wrapped into one place. And I'm having all kinds of funs with that. And Carla, I'm not a creative person, Carla is. And so we're kind of working together on like adding all these little aesthetic elements into the bathrooms, or the kids, that we're going to have a kids zone and different things like that. And just the pops of color and the neon lights and stuff like that. Things that a lot of laundromats don't see value in. But we've kind of started to figure that out over time, that it's good for business, but it's also impactful for the community. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Jason,
if we have listeners, how do they get you to come and do this in their communities, in their laundromat?
Yeah, so people can contact us through the easiest ways through our website. You can go to laundrybicurrent.org, laundrybicurrent.org. There's a contact page on there, and people can see news stories and videos and photos of stuff of all of the stuff that we talked about, and they can see what it looks like. And people can contact us there and find out more of what we do there. Like I said, we want to see this happening in every community possible, especially every metro city possible. I can't be at every one. We can't have a person at every one, but if we can see some people locally, a laundromat owner that has the resources to be able to pull it off, I'd love to help you be able to do that. So.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We're working on something on our website, just going to be kind of a one-page website. We're connecting people. And would it be okay if we put a link to your website on our website? As kind of we're calling it kind of preferred vendors. So some of it'll be like, what I call rock star distributors. I want to kind of promote them because they're doing good stuff in the industry. But I think your website would be valuable in that context on our website, if that would be okay for us to do.
That'd be great.
And we'll coordinate with you through email or whatever, just a little synopsis of kind of who you are and what you are. If that'd be all right, we'd like to do
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Absolutely. Do you guys take donations? Like if someone says, maybe I know we have some audience that don't actually own laundromats or businesses, and they might want to just make a donation to, your next project? Can they do that through the website too, or how can they reach you that way?
Absolutely. Yeah. People can donate there on our website. Yeah, in multiple ways. Honestly, that's why I do most of this. I got to raise money,
Sure.
because we do, like I said, there are a lot of laundromats that we work with that they don't have those kind of resources, and we come in not expecting them to have those kind of resources. But yes, on our website, there's a place where people can donate financially. There's a way, if it's let's say it's a vendor as well, there's vendors. If there's vendors listening, can contact us, and we'll coordinate if they want to donate soap or bleach, things like that, as a vending company to some of our projects. That would be a big as well. Yeah. Which we do a lot of that. Like we work with the soccer team in Austin and a couple other cities where they volunteer, and so they try to work with their community vendors as well to get things donated for the projects that we do, so that the money that we get, we can put more of that into machines rather than buying supplies and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, listen, guys, obviously Jason and his organization has been doing great work for a long time, but if you're in a position where you can make a financial donation, if you own a laundromat, reach out to them. As he mentioned, all you have to do is be willing to let them and their organization come in and do what they do. You can be as much a part of that as you want to be, or as little. They obviously have a really good system for serving the community. And even if you don't directly put anything into the project, and their organization does all the work and all the financial commitment, you're still going to get a lot of community. What's the word I'm looking for here? Community value. People are going to recognize the fact that you let Laundry Project come in and do a project like this in your laundromat. So you're going to get maybe credibility. Not finding the right word. Goodwill. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm like, I don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah, goodwill. Thank you. You're going to get a lot of community goodwill out of that. But man, guys, whether you do a project like this yourself, you take it on yourself, which we all know plenty of laundromat owners. I know many laundromat owners out there that are fully capable of doing something like this on their own. Guys, I'm challenging you. Let's do this, okay? Me and Carla talk about all the time the fact that laundromats are a vital community resource, and there is a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good work already, but we can always push ourselves and do a little bit more. So whether you need to get involved with Jason's organization, the Laundry Cares, as he mentioned, over at CLA, your local health department, just find a way to do your part, guys, because our communities need us. We are a vital community resource. We have a powerful tool at our disposal, and we should be using that for good. I know a lot of you are, and I know a lot of you are always looking for new and innovative ways to do that, and that's why we wanted to bring you this episode today. But listen, Jason, I don't know if you're interested, but can people reach you personally? I mean, is there a way that they can connect with you personally? I know you're on social media and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say social media is probably the best. On Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, it's my name, Jason Sowell, or my handle is at Jason Sowell as well, SOWELL. So
okay.
Yeah, absolutely would love that.
All right. Well, fantastic, guys. Jason's another one of those guys in the world just doing a lot of good. Let's surround him with some love and a little bit of money, or maybe a lot of bit of money. Let's show him that we appreciate him. Show us that shirt real quick, if you could.
Oh yeah. These are our volunteer shirts.
There you go.
This is what we
Hope dealer.
Cool.
Hope dealer. Yeah. So when our team leads are there, that's typically what they're wearing for our projects.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. If nothing else, pull a few of those golden nuggets. Maybe not for business so much. Pull them out and serve your community. I promise you that's going to be good for your business in the long run. Jason, thanks for being here today. For Dave and Carla Menz in Cincinnati, Ohio, everyone, we'll see you next time for another episode of the Laundromat Millionaire Show. Take care.